welcome guys to our discussion today. Maybe if we can just introduce ourselves whichever way we want, and we can start our discussion today.
I'm a queer person.
Thank you, Q.
Hi guys, I'm a lesbian identifying woman.
Hi guys. I'm W, that trans guy.
All right, good to know.
All right, so our topic, or rather our discussion today, is about social exclusion of the LGBTI community in Zimbabwe and the media as well. So I figure there's a lot of media backlash when it comes to LGBTI issues. Why is it that way? Where is it coming from? What have been the push factors for the media to be saying stories or publishing issues about LGBTIQ that so far have been knowingly so negative?
Yeah.
Okay. I would think that looking at Zimbabwe, instances of social exclusion, they are prevalent when it comes to us, the LGBTQI community. It is because of a number of reasons, according to what I've seen, what we see here in our communities. You know, we are excluded from social activities because because of the law here in Zimbabwe. It is because of the constitution, right, which is guiding the communities to think and behave the way they are behaving, right? See, the constitution doesn't allow gays and lesbians to fully express themselves, right? It goes on further to prohibit same-sex marriages, right? So even if you look at that criminal law, and it criminalizes gays, you know, any sexual act, any touching between guys, they can be criminalized for that. So maybe that is another factor that makes us to be socially excluded. The law fuels that among societies and communities so that they think that way, and even the government is aligning themselves to that law, and there are issues of even the police attitude police and towards queer people, and it fuels the police brutality towards the LGBTQI. Yeah, one. Go on further to our politicians, our religious leaders, our traditional leaders, and they've just got a negative attitude about us, and so those figures, they reflect badly about us. They talk badly about us, and so you will see what that environment, yes, excluder from the mainstream activities. Yeah, even your community mobile, all those that are non-LGBTQI community, and they make us suppress our identity or our expression. So I think those are some of the issues that makes the LGBTQI community even excluded socially in the activities, in the opportunities, even in terms of rights, I think.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you so much for that. Yes, queer person, you wanted to say something?
Well, I think it stems from a lot of what I said about things like how religion and those that influence perceptions be they religious leaders or political leaders or traditional leaders, how they push the agenda, the anti-LGBTI agenda, and how that narrative seems to constantly gain traction in our society. I think it's also a lot to do with the colonial laws that were brought. So if we dig deeper into it, it goes way, way back to an extent that colonization has because colonization was to colonize the minds, and they successfully did that on the issue of LGBTQI persons, because we always existed and people were fine with us, There there's historical evidence around things speaking to the inclusion of LGBTI persons pre-colonialism. So it's, of course, there have been efforts to hide or to sweep under the rug that historical evidence, and you don't hear it coming up in many conversations, but it's there. We used to exist. We have ancestors that lived a long time ago who were queer, and they were accepted in their societies. They were part of the community, and they were respected in some parts. But it's just now coming forward. It also comes back to the issue of the palatability of an idea. People don't tend to find diversity interesting anymore, especially when that diversity comes from a minority group. I think the types of diversity that are acceptable in our society are things that are done by the majority. So even when people quote the Bible, they will not mention things that are done by a large group of people, like maybe adultery, things like sex before marriage, things that are now part of the mainstream. You don't hear them being as vocal about them as opposed to issues to do with the LGBTI community, where they, pick a few verses that were mentioned in a very large text and choose to focus on those. It's really a challenge, and it's understandable because the people in the media are people who are socialized in this way. They're people who are brought up in these communities that paraphrase the Bible, in these communities where influential figures constantly use the LGBTI community as a scapegoat for whatever misgivings they might have themselves, to sort of shift the spotlight from their own misgivings and shortcomings. So that is where we're coming from. That is the background. We're coming from a society where colonization and, things to do with socialization as well play a very significant role in how people conduct their jobs. The neutrality that is expected of the media is diminished by the fact that they have personal opinions and personal, whether it's the journalists or the editors, they have personal opinions about our existence as the LGBTI community. And, that is the situation on the ground. Thank you.
Yeah, that was very insightful. And gathering from what you guys have said, is it then possible for us, members of the LGBTI community, to engage with the media on these issues that are evolving? I mean, right now we are in the 21st century, and like you said, we have historical evidence that we existed from pre-colonial times up until now. So is it then not possible for us to try and fight for a change, to engage with media gurus, the journalists, the government, the law, to say, let's have engagements, let's talk, so that we try and move away from this backward thinking, or is it maybe an issue of ignorance or something? What do you guys think?
Okay, my thought is that's very much possible, but it will take time, and there'll be forward, backward kind of situations where you find that you'll be using advocacy to engage media so that they can include our stories, our positive stories in the mainstream media. But because of the law, they are also afraid that they can be excluded from doing the media mainstream work, right? Maybe fear of association with the LGBT issues, right? Because I think because of the law, the state actually they sponsor the mainstream media where these big issues are supposed to come out, right? So because the state is not supporting the LGBT issues, so the media, the mainstream media, will find it hard to air any positive issues in regards or in relation to us, the LGBTQI community in Zimbabwe. But then we shouldn't tire. I would think we should do push and advocate, and not only wait for the mainstream media to air our sentiments and to air our stories, our achievements, our developments, and all the empowerments that come with us, our being, right? So I would think we can also use and be vibrant, also use other social media platforms that are sustainable, uh, that are colorful, that are radical, and I think that will help as well. But we should not tire trying to forge into the mainstream media here in Zimbabwe. I think there are a lot of complications in regards to that. But yes, it's possible. We can do it, structure ourselves, and know that it will take time, but eventually it will happen.
Yeah, I think.
Okay, I don't know, but I feel like such an approach would be problematic because media is supposed to be neutral. It's not supposed to stand for any party, any identity, any particular group of people. It's just a source of information, and its neutrality makes it one of the best watchdogs in any country and in any community. So I feel, for me, having to say then we need media to say our issues, media to this, that, it then becomes problematic. I think that's where our problem started, because already we have a media that's been programmed to say we only stand for this particular group of people. They're the only ones that are correct politically, socially, and whatsoever, to actually have their issues heard. If we also try to tackle it from the same angle as them, it would mean we're just continuing a cycle. Rather, we should then try to reform the media to just be a neutral mouthpiece that speaks on any issue for anyone, regardless of which gender they have, which identity they actually align with, and stuff like that. So I think our problem starts when we want to actually package it to say this particular media outlet or this particular platform speaks on issues of this and that. We shouldn't have a scenario where only radio speaks on particular issues, it should be, you can find issues on LBT, on TV, on radio, on social media, on any podcast, on Twitter, on wherever. So I feel like the fact that in media has been programmed to believe that morally these are the particular group of people that deserve airplay or that deserve exposure is then a problem. So our problem is not really mainly that they are not saying our issues, it's that they are programmed to favor a particular group of people. It's similar to saying we need the media to air issues from the opposition. We don't need media to air issues from the opposition. We just need media to be neutral, to speak on behalf of anyone, so that anyone has access to share whatever information, whatever they want discussed, whatever critical issues that they need people to know. We need a media that is neutral, because the moment media aligns itself with a particular group of people, it means one or two people or a number of people are being excluded in favor of that one person that his media aligned to them. So I don't know, that's my perspective rather.
Thank you so much for that. Well, it does really make sense, because at the end of the day, I mean, media should not be state-owned. Media should just be a neutral force. Media should be able to represent each and everyone equally and fairly. So I stand to agree with you on that one. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I think also when it comes to the media, it's very tricky, because in trying to engage them, so most media houses are owned for profit. There are very few media houses that are non-profit making, but most media houses survive on sales. And for us to then engage them on that level, to say it's not just bad news that sells, to try and get them to understand that it's not just the negative dramatic stories. Of course, the main challenge is always, well, not always, but in recent years has been at the tabloids. And tabloids tend not to follow the ethics of journalism or the ethics of media practice. They just want to get the story and sell as many copies as possible. And it seems the more unethical the tabloid, the more sales it gets. So it's really a challenge, because they, in their purpose as profit-making entities, feel they feel they are successful as media houses, not understanding the implications of the negative stories that they are perpetuating to the public. I think there needs to be a more effective media commission that holds even tabloids to account. There needs to be more protection for this society in terms of being able to sue media, which has always been a challenge, because they've managed to get away with a lot of stuff. It's crucial that the Media Commission does its job in policing the media, in reinforcing ethical practice within the media. I think for me, that would be the essential thing, because in trying to engage media directly, you get targeted to some extent. If you are too vocal, then they find dirt on you and they publish your story as a way of silencing you. It wouldn't be the first time. And it's really a challenge reaching out to media. And the journalists will always say, no, it's the editors who govern what we publish. But at the same time, the editors will be saying, no, it's the journalists who give us the stories. So they do a lot of back and forth and throwing the ball at each other because they know what they're doing is wrong and it affects lives and they don't want to be held accountable. So I think the Media Commission would really go a long way if it did its purpose, if it fulfilled its purpose. I think it would really go a long way.
Okay, I hear what you're saying, but on that issue, what's our role? Because we should play a role towards that thing. What will be our role as LGBTQI so that we can see that success, we can see that happening someday? What's our role there?
I think engaging the commission because it's there. The commission is there. So maybe lobbying the commission, getting case studies, getting case studies of people whose lives have been, literally turned upside down by media and ensuring that we still make efforts to, because media practitioners have some sort of standing with the commission. So finding allies within the media, whether it's editors or journalists, who can also help us in our lobbying of the commission. I think that would be an effective stance. Yeah. But also, I think another thing that we can do is to create our own media because, we are not restricted in any way from, think like what we're doing now. I think we're not restricted in any way from presenting our own narratives, our alternative narratives, and changing perceptions and changing the status quo when it comes to LGBTQI persons. We are not barred by anyone from doing that. And I think we need to do it more actively. And because people are now engaging more with social media, more with the internet, more with Twitter and all. So I think we need to be in those spaces, presenting ourselves, presenting our stories. Yeah.
I just wanted to add on to what you were saying about us taking control of some of these things that happen in the media, because I would like to believe that the LGBTI community is more than their sexual orientation. We actually have a lot to offer. We actually have so many success stories within the community, and it is us who are supposed to take those stories out there. Use of social media, podcasts, Twitter, Facebook, we have all that to our disposal. So why not take all our success stories and put them out there for the world to see? We can't just sit around and wait for these other media houses to be painting our community in such a bad way. So I think we ourselves actually need to step up and take charge of the situation.
Yeah, I would want to concur with what you are saying, all right, in creating our own stories. This social exclusion, this social exclusion, prior to mentioning the media issues, right? It's the things that are happening to us. It's the things that the government is doing, the police are doing, the society, the politicians, and the media actually is reinforcing that exclusion by telling bad things. When they're telling bad things, obviously the social exclusion widens, it becomes deeper, right? So I agree with you that we need to create our own stories there and put our worlds out there, because as you're saying, it's not about our sexual orientation. There's a lot to offer. There's a lot that people in the LGBT community have, right? A lot of successes, a lot of good storytelling that can come out from there. So I think we can use other platforms to tell our story,
Well, yes. All right. So thank you guys for such an informative discussion. Any last words that you want to leave?
But yeah, I would like to agree with the previous speaker.
The other thing that I wanted to say is we should also identify if there are any media houses that can be our supporters. We can start there, but it's good not to be limited to the mainstream media. We can create our own things, like you guys were saying, the podcast on Twitter, creating stories and links that will go even via WhatsApp, constantly, and to a time where people will see that there's more than just the expression and their identity. There's more to the community, So I think that will help. We should and identify ourselves, or maybe ally with civic organizations that would want to uplift our communities as well. The LGBT community, that is.
Yeah, I stand to agree with you on that one. Otherwise, this was a very interesting discussion, and would you guys like to say any last words before we break our conversation and leave it to our listeners so that they can give us any feedback about our discussion?
Yeah, I think now is the time to actually own our stories and realize that our stories matter. We belong like everyone else. We belong in our society, and we belong in that society happy like everyone else, living happy and fulfilled lives. Let other things affect us, not our sexual orientation. Let other layers of our identity be the reason we have challenges, not because we're gay, Yeah.
All right. In conclusion, I would want the society or the community of Zimbabwe to see that we are equal. We want equality as well. We want equity. We want empowerment as well. Regardless of what they want, whether they like it or not, they should appreciate that there is diversity. They should appreciate that people are different. In terms of traditions, traditions are not universal. What they believe in is not what I believe in. Their religion and my religion they are different. What if what they believe in is going in a certain direction? It doesn't mean that it's aligned to what I believe. We shouldn't base these issues on traditions and morals and religion, because these things are individual based. You see, they're not even universal. So one thing that is universal are human rights. Let's base this on human rights. I've got, let me have freedom of expression. I've got a right to live. I've got right to freedom of expression. I've got right to love whom I want to love, to express myself the way I want. So let that be respected, regardless of tradition, regardless of political affiliation, regardless of religious beliefs and morals. Let's not base this on that, but rather on human rights. I have got rights as well, just like you have got rights. We are equals, so treat us the same. That's what I would like the people of Sim to know and understand.
Thank you so much. You guys heard it. Treat us the same, treat us fairly, treat us equally. Give us our rights, give us our freedoms. So this is from Amplified Voice. Thank you for tuning in, and we look forward to getting some feedback from you guys. Cheers.